Hey everyone, I'm Jason and welcome to Smile Money. Today I'm opening up the vault and sharing with you an interview I have with a four-time Olympian turned certified financial planner, Lauren C. Williams. This interview took place a few years ago during an event that I held, a 24-hour marathon on financial health and wellness. And this interview sticks with me today. It's a short interview, but a very powerful one. And if you are an athlete, if you are a student athlete, a professional athlete, a parent of an athlete, or a loved one of an athlete, this is for you. Lauren shares her story of Olympic medals and the issues she faced when it came to finances and how she realizes she needed to take in the reins herself to empower herself through financial knowledge, and also found an opportunity to help other athletes. So without further ado, here's an interview.
I want to bring in our special guest. I'm honored to have Lauren Williams, a four-time Olympian and financial planner, talk about the financial health of student and professional athletes. I also want her to share her story. It's very interesting. We had the opportunity to meet when I was in Dallas. And so I'm honored to have her as part of this epic event to break the social taboo about money. Without further ado, I want to welcome Lauren to the broadcast.
It is so good to be here. I'm having a great day. Thanks for having me on.
No, thank you. I know you are traveling. You're away currently, right? You're not in your home office?
I am not in my home office. I am in DC, the good old capital of the country.
Brightening the minds of our athletes and Olympians on personal finance?
I am. That is exactly what I'm doing. How'd you know that? My away message, maybe?
I am psychic, if you don't know that. I just can't guess lottery numbers. That's my problem.
Then everyone would want to know you.
Yeah. So start off with your money story. And I mean, as it relates to being a four-time Olympian, and I know many of the student athletes that I have spoken with at the various schools, when I told them that I was speaking with you, they're very interested just because they feel that you have a unique perspective. You have an understanding in terms of like the demands that they have to balance school and sports, and also the potential for a financial windfall. And I think we can kind of talk about that too, because there's always a mindset that I'm in sports, I'm going to make a ton of money, and I don't have to really learn how to manage it or invest or anything like that.
Yeah, because you're going to have an entourage of people that handle that for you. That is one of the biggest things I hear, and the most common misconceptions or things that I think could be debilitating for a professional athlete or anyone who is counting on this a large amount of money come and not really understand how money works before this big windfall, as you referred to, would come. So my story a little bit is I was born in Pennsylvania, raised between Pittsburgh and Detroit, and found out that I was fast just by running around the neighborhood, figuring out I was faster than boys. First, I was faster than girls. Then I was faster than boys my age. Then I was faster than boys older than me. And like, you might be onto something here. And so that journey took me to the University of Miami, where I found out someone wanted to pay for me to get a free education. And I was like, wow, this is an awesome opportunity. I can just run around this circle, which is something that I thought was fun to do anyway. I love to win and compete and try to beat people. And now someone's going to pay for my education that would have been $40,000 or $50,000 a year. I'm all over that. And so I chose to go to the University of Miami. And I really just wanted to repay my coach for the opportunity of getting a free education, because I came from a low income family. I have 5 sisters and 2 brothers. There was no college savings. There was no true college plan. My parents did instill in me the importance of getting an education, and I knew that that was something I wanted to do. So I was focused on kind of getting academic scholarships before I found out I had the opportunity to get athletic scholarships, but was fortunate enough to find here was an athletic way to go. And he said a lot more fun, a lot less stress, and having to keep your grades up, et cetera. And I chose the University of Miami. I got there and I worked as hard as I could to just repay my coach for this opportunity, and started to have success. I made it to the national championships as a freshman, but I lost. And then to the national championships, and I got like 5th. And then my junior year, I was like, okay, what do I need to do to win? And I did everything I could to make sure I was ready. I won the national championships, but I also ran the 2nd fastest time in the world, and it was the Olympic year. And so here I am at 20 years old, and now America's counting on me to go to the Olympic trials, do well there, and then go to the Olympic Games. Well, that thing that the student athletes are looking for and hoping for happened to me. You know, this opportunity to go pro. And it's not frequent that track and field athletes get to leave school early and, you know, pursue a professional career. That's something that's more popular in MLB or basketball or football. But there are opportunities like that for track and a few other sports occasionally. And now I'm in a place where I'm negotiating a contract. I have to figure out an agent, and you know, someone's getting ready to pay me $250,000 at 20 years old, where I was just managing last month, you know, my $1,000 a month stipend and thinking I was rich every month when that came. And $1,000 doesn't take you very far in Miami, let me just tell you. So,
Yeah, I can imagine.
And the gap that I felt right then in that moment was, despite being a finance major, I didn't have very much. I had been, you know, looking at my credit card each month and making sure that all the charges were there and trying to be financially responsible just in ways that I could figure out how to be responsible, making sure that I wasn't racking up debt and I could pay it in full. But there wasn't very much left over. Me and my roommate would split the groceries. And now here I am, like I said, with $250,000 as a contract and 20 years old. And I realized I didn't have any real literacy. I didn't have any idea what to do with this money or, you know, how to go about starting to save for a future. I knew that was a thing that needed to be accounted for, but I didn't know what to do to get there. And so I hired a financial advisor that was, you know, based on like a recommendation of a family friend. And what I didn't know at the time was that there's different kinds of financial people out there that can assist you. So, you know, there's these terms: financial coach, financial advisor, wealth manager, and, you know, now there's certified financial planning and financial planner, and, you know, the list goes on. And I just figured it was all the same. You know, what's the difference? I need financial advice. He calls himself a financial advisor. Great. But what I didn't know is that he got paid a commission to sell a product. And at 20 years old, I needed to know how to make a budget, like the basics. I wanted to trade in my hoop car that my dad got me for college and get a nicer car, you know, but I didn't know how much car I could afford. You know, could I move out from living with my college roommate? You know, I thought I could, but at what rate? You know, do I get more expensive rent? Can I buy a house? How much do you need to put down? Is that a good decision at 20 years old? I didn't get any of those answers from the guy that I hired. All I got was investment advice.
And when you think about it, right, like $250,000, $250,000, it's like at 20 years old, wow, that's a lot of money. But now when you think about it, that's not really a lot of money in terms of like being able to sustain.
Especially when no one is taking taxes out of that money. It wasn't $250 after taxes. This is $250 before taxes, before you pay the agent, you know, before you cover your expenses, which are not covered, you know, anywhere. Sometimes there's a stipend from your shoe contract or something like that. But initially it's like, you got to get yourself to Europe. You got to get these things paid for. You need to pay for your coach. So there's a lot of expenses that go into being a professional athlete that people don't take into account. And when someone's paying you $250,000, they expect you to perform. So you also need to be investing that money into yourself. So it's not like go make it rain in the club and buy a Ferrari and, you know, do these kind of stereotypical things that people are saying that athletes should or can do because they have so much extra and so much abundance. It seldom goes as far as you think it does, no matter what that amount is.
How did that transition into, I'm going to be a financial planner?
Definitely. So it's 2007, just pre-2008, and this advisor calls me and he says, "Hey, I just wanted to let you know that we lost some money today. I like to call the clients directly whenever we lose some money." And he didn't advise on how much money we lost. He just said, you know, this is something that happens from time to time. I just wanted to make sure you heard it directly from me as opposed to just seeing it later. But he, like I said, he avoided the how much money we lost, why we lost money, explaining what the market was doing, anything like that. And so it's not a story of this guy being super negligent or stealing my money or running off in the way that you hear in those stereotypical stories. But he also didn't do a very good job of explaining what was happening or why I should why I needed to know that. I guess he felt like you said, you stay on the track, you run. Don't worry about this, just worry about everything else. But he did feel the obligation to at least call and tell me. Well, I get my statement in the mail the next month and I realized like $80,000 in the hole. Like, that's a boatload of money when you're 25 years old. You know, I've been stacking it away and trying to save, but now you're down $80K and you don't know why. You don't understand what the market is doing. I didn't know the first thing about investing. I just knew that was an important thing to do. And you like to think, like you said, your finance degree gives you all this information, but I wasn't watching the markets on a day-to-day basis. So I'll just tell you, make an expensive enough mistake and learning becomes a priority. That's when I was like, all right, get me a book, get me a blog, get me anything. I need to learn this. And so I wasn't turned off by the fact that it didn't work out between me and that guy. And like I said, there were still a lot of questions along the way that I was asking him that he wasn't answering. I hired another gentleman who worked specifically with professional athletes, thinking that was going to go better for me because, of course, he understands that we have this very busy schedule, that we spend 3 months of the year in Europe, that our income is fluctuating. And like I said, that we're 1099 employees, so we need to set money aside for taxes, et cetera. And it just didn't go better, is the long story short. He actually charged more money in addition to the investment amount, you know, the assets under management fee. He also charged for paying bills. And so it's like, yeah, we'll take that under control for you. Don't worry. Like you said, you just go out there and run. And so I was paying $10,000 a year for him to pay my bills, which were already on auto pay before I met him. Like, talk about stupid decisions. But
so
you know,
let's stop there. When did you go, why am I paying this person $10,000? When did that happen? Like, when did you get clued in to say, I am not going to pay $10,000 for someone to pay my bill?
Crap started to hit the fan for him. And so it was one of those things where, like you said, money is emotional. That's what I tell my clients all the time, is this idea is money is emotional. And so like, there must be something I don't know, because he's a professional and, you know, he has these licenses and these things. So because I don't have them, he must know something I don't know. And they must be monitoring my budget on the, you know, they do on a day-to-day basis. There's some big intricate thing that's happening that I don't see is happening, that it must be happening. It has to be for $10,000, right? And so you convince yourself that something's happening, even though all things point to nothing's happening. And he ended up basically in trouble. There was a big casino scandal with a bunch of NFL players. They threw millions and millions of dollars into a casino, and the casino never opened. So they all lost a fortune. Wow. And luckily, I didn't have the millions and millions to invest in this thing. So I avoided that conundrum of losing my money in that situation. But yeah, it was a quick downhill slide for him. And that was done. And I was finally, you know, in this process, I'm looking for information, like I said, and I found, like, you know, people say, oh, study for the Series 7. I'm like, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel like what I want to learn. And then I actually led me to the Certified Financial Planning coursework. And I was like, here's something that teaches you about all aspects of your finances. This is what I thought those two guys were doing for me, which they don't. And I keep asking other athletes, like, who they're working with, what they're doing, how is this going for them? And they don't know anything about what they're, you know, all they know is investments or nothing. They have either an investment person or they don't have anyone helping them at all. And I'm like, someone needs to help us with all these money questions and all aspects of our finances. So I blind enrolled in the Certified Financial Planning coursework and was kind of off and running, and I'm going to be the answer to the problems that I'm seeing for myself and for my peers.
And how long have you been doing this?
So it's 5 years. Actually, on Friday, I'll be celebrating my second birthday as a company. But I joined the industry 5 years ago. I started with an internship, and then I went and got a job at a couple places. And I realized that I just didn't like, that you said, once again, that big wealth management firm sort of feel. You know, I learned a lot of information there, but it was like, what about the people who don't have millions of dollars? Where do they get their information from? Why don't they have someone that's licensed and qualified to provide advice? You know, without having $1 million of assets under management, sort of thing. And so that's when I kind of became passionate about, like, how am I going to be able to serve my peers? And, you know, of course, people think from a professional athlete standpoint, everybody's a millionaire. And like you said, you just heard mine. I started at $250. It's a significant amount of income. It gives me the opportunity to become a millionaire, but I wasn't a millionaire initially. You had to, like, really build up and save and do the right things with that money, or you could never become a millionaire. It's not like everybody gets 10 million, $20 million in the bank and that sort of deal. Like, that's the stigma, and that's the way that people think about professional athletes, but that's not the way it is. And in the Olympic world, you know, you have athletes that live in their car and just try to make their dream work. You know, you have Olympians that will not make $50,000 after winning a gold medal in the Olympics. And that's the side people don't see. And I feel like they deserve help and advice as well.
Like, where do you need to focus your attention?
I'd say the biggest gap is education, and really this idea of entitlement that people kind of play into is, like I said, you shut up and play, you shut up and run, you shut up and throw the ball, you shut up and, you know, do whatever it is that you do as an athlete. Don't worry about this. And by them taking care of so many other things for us so that we don't have to worry, they enable us, and we don't have enough education. So the gap is in us being inquisitive enough to say, I need to know this now while I'm in college. I need to take the financial literacy course if it's available, or I want to read up on this information, or I want to ask my life skills coordinator at my university to bring in someone to speak about this, so that I can be properly educated and ready to go, for whatever, life after college has to offer me. And that, that applies whether you go pro or not. But the other thing is once you go pro, like I said, there's this big idea that you have to have an entourage and you got to have these people around you. And because you've made it, you've got these team of people that take care of things for you. But you need to take care of you. You need to put your oxygen mask on first, not be afraid to ask questions about what's going on. And really, the where that starts is you spend a lot of time as athletes finding an agent, shopping around, asking all the different questions. You need to do the exact same thing with a financial advisor. You don't just end up in the guy who has the best sales pitch or the best kind of schmoozy, I'm going to take your family out to dinner in a Bentley and get them all a steak. And he looks rich, so he must be able to keep me rich, sort of thing. You've got to really take the time to ask educated questions of whoever it is that you're going to hire, and you need to be engaged in the process all the way through your career, because nobody is too busy to take care of their personal finances.
So how are you able to reach student athletes? What's your channel? What's your mode to get their attention?
I think the biggest thing about me and being able to talk to student athletes is the idea that I was a student athlete. So I know exactly the life that you're living. I know exactly how busy it is. You've got to get into the study hall. You got mandatory hours. You got practice. You got to balance you're getting your education and being on the road traveling. So for me, it's just showing up at the university, doing a 2-hour workshop where it's super engaging. We're not just gonna, go through a PowerPoint slide and have this monotone talk, but how do young people learn best now? And it's by interacting. It's by real life examples. It's by saying, hey, okay, you want to go pro? What sport are you gonna go? Okay, how much money are you gonna make when you go pro? And we're breaking down those examples right here. Well, here's your $1 million. Okay, well, here's how far $1 million will take you if you're in New York versus Miami versus, small town Texas sort of thing. So you end up on this team. This is what that money looks like. And so really providing real life examples and real ways to relate to those student athletes, I think, is an important way to be able to reach them.
What one piece of advice or tip, suggestion do you want to leave them off with? So when they watch it, you say, this is the one thing I want you to do right now.
Invest time in yourself. Don't tell yourself that you're too busy. I've got too much going on to spend 10 minutes a day reading something on a topic you don't know. And ask questions. If you don't ask questions, you can't get answers. And if you already have a team in place, there's no reason that they can't break down whatever it is. Tell me more. Help me understand that. Break it down for me. There's no reason, if you're paying someone, that they shouldn't provide the information to you and they shouldn't spend the time with you to really help you understand whatever it is that they're doing on your behalf. It's great to have a team in place so you don't have to do everything on your own, but you also need to know what your team is doing. And they need to be able to explain it to you in a way that you can understand and explain to someone else if they were to ask you about it. So take time and ask a lot of questions.
That's awesome. Great advice. Thank you so much for that. So we're wrapping up. I want people to know where they can find out more information, where they can connect with you. And also, a lot of our viewers, I'm finding out, are nonprofits, are colleges and universities, or faculty members. And so I want to address their attention because there are student athletes in these universities and colleges, and they may definitely need your help, your support to kind of drill in the importance of personal finance. So where can they reach you?
So my website is worth-winning.com. You can find me on all the social platforms at Worth Winning. So Worth Winning on Twitter, Worth_winning on, Worth_winning on Twitter, Worth Winning on Instagram. And like I said, Worth-winning on my website. There's a speaker button there. I'm happy to come speak at anybody's university or nonprofit organization and share the message of financial literacy with student athletes or other young people and young professionals in general. I also have a podcast that's called Worth Listening website as well, or just on any podcast app.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Lauren, for being part of this epic attempt to break the social taboo about money through this Facebook Live marathon for FinHealth Matters. Thank you for sharing your expertise and your knowledge in addressing the unique financial issues of our student and professional athletes. Again, thank you for your time and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks for having me on, Jason. And I really appreciate you taking the time to do this because it is important to break down that social taboo around money. We've got to get talking about it so that people can get more educated and be better in the future.
We got to. Thank you.
Although this conversation took place almost 4 years ago, it is still relevant today as it was back then. And I want to thank Lauren for continuing to do the work to educate student athletes, to educate professional athletes, to educate anyone in the sports industry in mastering their finances. She has such a powerful message, and to be able to relate to her, if you are a student athlete, a professional athlete, a parent of an athlete, or a loved one of an athlete, to be able to understand what it means to be an athlete, what it means to manage your money and all the complexities and the uniqueness of your situation, I definitely think Lauren is one of those persons that you want to reach out to, get to know. Again, Lauren is a 4-time Olympian, and she is a certified financial planner and a financial coach who can understand your situation. So if you are in that situation, I definitely recommend you check out the description for the links to her social media profile as well as her website and a copy of her book, The Oval Office. And with that said, I'm Jason. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you are new to this channel, I ask that you hit the subscribe button and hit the little bell so you get a notification every single time I upload a new video. And make sure you engage and follow me on social media, especially on Twitter and Instagram at @frugal. With that said, thank you so much. I'm out of here. Peace.